Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's another episode of the Spartan Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and I'm joined with my co-hosts, Zack and Emmett. We're all back for another breakdown of MSU football's 2025 roster. We're going to tackle another position group today. A little bit of a scheduling note before we dive in. This episode will take the place of our main episodes. Not a ton of news breaking this week. Plus, we have a couple of interesting guests lined up for hopefully the next couple of episodes. We're trying to get those interviews scheduled. So we're hopefully going to have those out to you within the next couple of weeks. And then we'll still keep doing these, football position breakdowns to make sure we cover those before the season's over. But just wanted to let you know, no main episode this week, but we'll have one hopefully coming soon. And the next one, hopefully, will have a very intriguing guest that you all should really enjoy. So I got some fun things in the works before football season and during the start of football season. That being said, Zack, Emmett, thanks so much for joining me today. Just really quickly, one piece of news: Midnight Madness was confirmed for October 3rd. So get your schedules and your preparations in order for Basketball Midnight Madness, October 3rd. It is confirmed. Last little news note. We are recording this Thursday, August 14th. It's about 10 o'clock at night. Obviously, we know the NCAA sanctions for Michigan in the sign stealing scandal will be released tomorrow. Just want to let you guys know we recorded this before this, so we don't have any updates, or we're not purposely avoiding talking about it. We just recorded this ahead of time. We will break it down on another episode coming soon, I promise. We just wanted to wait till that was released, and then we'll give you our reactions to that. So, guys, how you doing today?
Good. I just need to know what Tom Izzo is going to dress up as, if he's going to dress up as anything for Midnight Madness. I also need to know, will Robin Freilich also be involved if they both dress up? We haven't seen it. I need to see. I need to know. I need a video. I need kind of like the videos of the 2010s where you can tell both are trying to act, but it's not good acting whatsoever. Or the main one I remember is, I believe, Draymond Green committing to Michigan.
Yeah.
It was like a horror situation, which is absolutely crazy. But in my opinion, it's one of the most memorable ones. Obviously excited for that. Obviously excited for football coming up. Just can't believe we're 2 weeks away, which is absolutely crazy. But yeah, no, just excited, obviously, to talk about this. Excited for the guests as well. I think we're going to have a lot of really fun things coming up.
Yeah, I completely agree. A lot of fun guests lined up, and you guys are going to have to report back to me for Midnight Madness because I believe I will be in Nebraska at that point for the Michigan State-Nebraska game. So rely on Chris and Zack for your coverage of that because I'll...
Yeah, Emmett's post has got approved for the full season, so we're going to be shipping him across the country again this year. So look for his football coverage every weekend, and then everything else in between. If he's traveling, Zack and I will be able to lock it down for you guys. But speaking of football, let's dive right into it. Today's position group, we're going to do the defensive line, the interior defensive linemen, and the edge rushers. We'll start with those interior defensive linemen. I'll go ahead and just tell you the roster right now, and then we'll go ahead and break that down for you. Starting with those interior defensive linemen, we have Jalen Thompson, the junior from Detroit, Grady Kelly, redshirt senior from Navarre, Florida, Kakai Burnett, a redshirt freshman from Honolulu, Mike Schoonbeeler, redshirt freshman from Chicago, Illinois, Ben Roberts, redshirt junior from Lakewood, Washington, Ben Nelson, redshirt junior from Holland, Michigan, Raekwon Buckley, redshirt senior from Grand Rapids, Alex Van Sumeren, redshirt junior from Bay City, Jalen Satchel, a redshirt senior from Springdale, Maryland, and then we have Cal Thrush, freshman from Arlington, Ohio, Derek Simmons, the freshman from Frankenmuth, and of course, last but not least, Quindarius Dunnigan, the grad level student from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And guys, thoughts on this defensive line, interior defensive line group and the talent that it has?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting defensive line, at least interior defensive line. We talked about last year. You saw kind of what the team had last year, the ability to be able to stop the run. If you really had to say one great thing about this defensive line, especially in recent history, is being able to stop the run. And this defensive line, especially on the interior, is definitely losing a little bit, but you have guys in that interior that you believe in, like an Alex Van Sumeren. I also know that Derek Simmons is a player that has been kind of talked a little bit about as well. There's a little bit of hype going into him. And then you have Grady Kelly coming from Florida State. It seems like he's going to be someone that's going to contribute right away for Michigan State. If he's not starting, he's going to be a guy that's going to be contributing for this team. So interior, it's definitely interesting. There's definitely a ton of potential there. I do think the main concern regarding some of these guys is obviously injury. Alex Van Sumeren hasn't been able to stay healthy. Now, if he can stay healthy, we've seen what he's been able to do. Obviously, we saw with Grady Kelly at Florida State, maybe he didn't have as good of a production as he did at Colorado State. Obviously, two different kind of levels of competition. He was behind two guys, though, that were really, really good for Florida State. So obviously, he didn't maybe get the run that maybe other guys have come in. But overall, I think this is a pretty good group. It's definitely one of those that you can see potential in. It's definitely one of those that can be really fun. I just think that if these guys stay healthy, they can again be pretty productive at stopping the run. It'll be interesting to see what it's going to be like on the pass rush. We can obviously talk about the pass rush when it comes to with the exterior defensive linemen, but interior, I think you have a pretty good at least 2, 3, 4 guys that are going to be able to contribute.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Zach said. It's going to be interesting to see how this pass rush works out for the Spartans because you're losing quite a few of the players who did get sacks last year when MSU could get pressured as a quarterback. I know Ken Talley had a sack and a half week one. Daquan Dallas had his only sack of the season in week one. You had Chris Bogle, who I believe led the team in sacks. He has graduated. And then, but also when you look at this defensive line, especially the interior and strong defensive end groups that we're looking at right now, you have Jalen Thompson is obviously the biggest name, I would say, on this list. And Thompson looks primed for a breakout year, I would say. He got to the quarterback a couple times as a freshman. Last year, when he was talking about last year, he said, honestly, when I was looking over the film, I was taking bad angles. Defensive line coach Alegi, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name. Coach Suanoa. Coach Alegi talked about how Jalen Thompson is a player that has, last year he did a great job at doing what he needed to do, and this year he is going to be able to do that and the jobs of others and be able to get to that quarterback is the hope. Grady Kelly is a guy who I think great run stopper, has shown pass rush upside. I believe he has 3.5 sacks in his career. I should know this. I just made a post on him yesterday as of this recording. Mike Schembieler has been getting a little bit of hype as well. Not as much as true freshman Derek Simmons. Simmons is a player who I legitimately believe he might be the best defensive line prospect, at least coming out of high school, that the Spartans have landed since, honestly, you can look at someone like Will Golston. I know that's very heavy praise, especially for a player who has yet to play a down of football for Michigan State. But the level of hype he's getting, I remember last year you heard Mike Schembieler's name mentioned a couple times, but you never heard the same consistent every single player, every single coach on the defensive side of the ball. Head coach Jonathan Smith is saying Derek Simmons is not a normal freshman. Derek Simmons is a guy with a relentless motor. Alex Van Sumeren, despite the Garber-Frankenmuth rivalry, is taking him under his wing and trying to get him the experience and the same leadership that he got from Jacob Slade, Maverick Hansen, those defensive linemen who were freshmen when AVS was a true freshman. Jalen Satchel is a guy who I think is primed for a good senior year campaign. He said that the main difference for him this year is that he had the level of working out and even just everything from the muscles you don't even think about. He said that that's been the biggest difference for him from last year to now. Kakai Burnett, player who I'm really high on, top 5 player in the state of Hawaii in last year's class. Well, Ben Roberts, he's been a guy that almost every single person is saying, almost every single pundit is saying, if you're picking one breakout candidate from this defensive line, look no further than Ben Roberts. And Roberts might end up being the third defensive tackle off the bench this year. Well, the third defensive tackle and the first one off the bench this year because Grady Kelly's getting rave reviews. Alex Van Sumeren seems to have that spot locked up. Ruquan Buckley, I've heard he is just a beast on the inside of the defensive line. I had a blocked field goal last year, so even if you don't see him outside of the run stuffing situations, during special teams, don't look away because Big 88 might be blocking a field goal. Then Cal Thrush is a player who's kind of flown under the radar. Wouldn't be surprised if you kind of see him get that Mike Schonbieler, Stone Chaney treatment from last year, where he played at the end of one of the games, either Western or FCS Youngstown State, and then looks primed for a bigger year the next season, just because this defensive line group, there is a lot of experience. You see redshirt junior, redshirt senior. Then you have Thrush, Simmons, and Beeler are your only players who are under a junior class size, well, under a junior year of eligibility. The final player to mention is Ben Nelson. Nelson has the most size of the group at 7. Also is 311 pounds, I believe third heaviest in the room. Nelson was a special teams contributor under the last year of the Tucker and Barnett regime. Saw the field for, I believe, 5 games last year. I think that he definitely is primed to have more of an impact this year now that you have DeQuan Dowse and Maverick Hansen gone. But overall, I think this group, it has a lot of promise, but at the same time, you have a ton of players who you're like, man, they could break out. But at the same time, the problem with breakouts in preseason is we haven't saw a snap of organized football. We haven't seen how this group is going to compare, how they're going to look. And honestly, we might not really see a good glimpse at the rotation until Boston College. Against Western Michigan, you'll see more rotation than normal. You'll see more rotation than normal against Youngstown. So you might not get your best glimpse of how this defensive line room is breaking out till you face the great teams of both USC and Nebraska for games 4 and 5. So overall, there is a lot of question marks, a lot of intrigue, a lot of players who you could say are breakouts, but it's very hard to say who your starters are going to be. In my opinion, starting strong defensive end, that position battle is over. It's Jalen Thompson. First guy off the bench is Quindarius Dunnigan. Then when you look at your defensive tackles, you're going to have starting defensive tackle Alex Van Sumeren. Second one's going to be Grady Kelly. MSU traditionally runs 4 or 5 deep at defensive tackle. You're going to see a lot of playing time for Ben Roberts. I would say Ruquan Buckley is DT number 4 for this year's team. Then I would say Mike Schonbieler and Derek Simmons both see a ton of playing time. I don't think Derek Simmons redshirts. And then beyond that, it's kind of situational ball. You might see Jalen Satchel was a traditional pass rushing defensive tackle last year. I think you see that again this year. And I'll stop yapping now and let Chris.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one big thing that stands out to me is you guys kind of hit it. I think it's a deep room. There's a lot of talent up and down the group. I think it's going to be something where you guys can see, 4 or 5 players rotating regularly. And then, if a player's having a good week at practice or something, maybe get some more playing time than usual. I agree with Emmett, too, in the point where you might not see what the regular rotation is going to look like, especially with the interior linemen, until week 4 or 5, just because of the way the schedule works out. But one thing I like about that is it gives you a couple extra weeks to prove yourself and rise to the top of the group and try to earn some more playing time. So I think that we certainly have some talent. I'm super high on Derek Simmons as well, the freshman. I don't know how much run he's going to get this year. I think he's kind of forcing himself into the conversation for some playing time. How much, we don't know. I know it's hard as a true freshman to really break in, especially jumping to a Big Ten level of competition. But yeah, from D5 too. So yeah, so he's going to have a little bit of a learning curve, but I think after a year or two on campus, he's really going to be someone who stands out and will be the anchor of this group. Probably has a good chance to play on Sundays afterwards. So I like the talent. I like where we're at. And, I think Jalen Thompson, he's one of my personal favorites. I hope he has a good season and a standout. And Ben Roberts and Alex Van Sumeren, if he can stay healthy, another big piece potentially. So we'll quickly move over and just discuss the edges, because that's kind of always been a question. Who's going to be our edges? I know we lost some players from last year, and that was always the big conversation. Are we going to pick up another edge in the portal? Are we going to recruit more? What are we doing? What are we doing with edge rushers? Can't ever have too many edge rushers, in my opinion. So this group, I like, again, a lot of talent potential. It's just going to see maybe who can stand out and who can rise to the top. But I'll start. We have Analu Lafele from Hawaii, a redshirt freshman. Isaac Smith, redshirt senior from Oklahoma. Tyler Gillison, redshirt junior from Ohio. Stone Chaney, redshirt freshman from Novi, Michigan. David Santiago, redshirt sophomore from Raleigh, North Carolina. Cam Williams, a sixth year from, and then Luke DeJagger, redshirt freshman from Grand Rapids. So that's the edge group as listed on the roster currently. What are you guys' thoughts about them?
Please stay healthy. Like, honestly, like, please stay healthy. One, because, like, we've said the word probably potential, like, a ton. Like, we'll probably continue to say potential, but here's my sense on it. Potential is great, but it's potential. Like, the biggest part of what this defensive line is going to do and how good this defense is going to be, I don't want to say solely is dependent on the defensive line, but we saw what this defense was last year. And while I do think there's more talent, at least certain spots on here, if you can't get to the quarterback, if you can't have a pass rush, these corners, these safeties are not going to be able to defend guys for 6, 7, 8, 9 seconds. Like, no offense to these guys, but even like the no-fly zone, I don't think could defend that long. Like, maybe they could, but like it truly
You never had to
depends
find out
on
because they
this.
had Calhoun and Rush.
Yeah,
Calhoun, Rush, Demetrius Cooper, that group, yeah.
yeah, and they had a pass rush, and we saw last year that pass rush wasn't there. Now, obviously, potential is a good thing. A lot of these guys are young. A lot of these guys haven't played kind of Big Ten football. I know we obviously got the transfer from Wisconsin that was a 4-star that has a ton of potential. That's very athletic, but he didn't play last year. So we don't know what he's going to look like on the field when it comes to playing on Saturdays. There's potential, there's excitement about this team, but this is the one spot, if I would have to say, can be a little bit concerning is what are these guys going to do when it comes time to playing against some of these best teams in the Big Ten? Like, if they look great against Western Michigan, if they look great against Youngstown State, maybe even they look great against Boston College. You know what I need? I need these guys to look great against, like, an Iowa, a Nebraska, a USC, a Michigan. I need someone to take a step up, and it has a full potential to be that. But this is the one spot, in my opinion, that is mostly like, hopefully they stay healthy and hopefully they reach their potential. Because if it doesn't, it's good for the future, but might not be great for this year, in my opinion.
I completely agree with Zach that this is the biggest roster spot where you have a ton of questions and you don't have a ton of answers. Joe Rossi was talking about this during his first media availability of the year, and he mentioned, hey, when I came here, we didn't have an edge position, so we had to throw players into the spot.
Right.
Jalen Thompson originally got thrown into it before they determined he was better at strong defensive end. Chris Bogle was kind of that tweener in size. He got thrown there. Was productive, had his statistical best year last season, but still maybe not a natural fit for it. The only guy who really was a natural recruited for that position and transferred in for that position was Tyler Gillison.
Yep.
He missed the entire year with injury. Then when you look at everyone else, you have Isaac Smith. He was the edge for Texas Tech. Obviously, I think he had like 2 sacks last year. So the good news is he played at the Power 4 level. The bad news is he wasn't extremely productive. Cam Williams, he is a player that he's gotten some good reviews. He could not secure the edge rush spot full-time at Georgia State, which is a concern, but he provides good depth in that room, good length at 6'5". David Santiago had a really hot end to his season for Air Force, so I'd say he's the player who you look forward to most for the future. And then Anulu Lafayette, player I'm super high on. Do I think that he is going to be a starter this year? Maybe not. Do I think he's going to be a situational pass rusher that provides a lot of upside? Definitely. Do I necessarily think that he'll be even the first edge off the bench this year? No. Honestly, he's a player that when you look at it, he has some of the least amount of length, but he did put together some good film in his highlights you can see against the first string Wisconsin offensive line. Granted, Wisconsin went 5-7 last year. That said, it's still Big Ten experience, and he was called by edge coach Chad Wilt today a player that has a lot of pop. So hopefully you can see him put that together, even if it's just providing a couple crucial plays in relief for even your Boston Colleges, your even Western Michigan or Youngstown State. Just show that flash, get that confidence up early, so that hopefully you can build on that momentum as the year goes on. Other players in that group are Luke DeJagger and Stone Chaney. both of whom are walk-ons. Cheney put together amazing film against Prairie View last year, 1.5 tackles for loss in like 5 snaps. But he is the only returning snaps for Michigan State in that edge group, which definitely a concern heading into this year, considering the lack of production last year. But the good news is, it's a completely clean slate. The bad news is, it's very unproven. Nobody with more than 3 sacks last season. So overall, this is a group that if I'm picking one that's a, quote, wait and see, end quote, it's definitely this group. If I'm picking a starter out of this group, I'm just putting a blindfold on and throwing some darts. But I would hope that it's either Isaac Smith or David Santiago as your starter week.
Yeah, I think so too.
Agreed.
Outside shot maybe to Tyler Gillison if he's really looking like he's good.
Yeah. I haven't heard, he was mentioned as a player that has provided good spark by Jonathan Smith, especially during the scrimmage, but he wasn't the first name brought up, which kind of brings me to that. I think you're going to see Isaac Smith and Cam Williams were the first 2 names brought up, so I think that you probably see Isaac Smith as that starter just based on our own observations and based on what the coaches have said. Isaac Smith kind of seems to be the winner because he's brought up by coaches and passes the eye test for us.
Definitely. And coming from Texas Tech and having the, reps last year, that's a big thing. Yeah, I don't really have much insight on this other than that. Like we said, potential, yes. Somebody's going to have to rise above and put it together, though. I don't know exactly who I think that's going to be. This is one of the cases where I think I would like, a little bit more of a proven commodity coming in. But, I like what the coaching staff does with eyeing potential, and I think they've done a really good job about getting guys that they think fit their scheme well and that work with their system and mindset well. Who am I to second guess? Because we're still on a small. Right, yeah, I was going to say we're really on a small sample size for Coach Smith still, so we can't really backtrack too much. So overall, I think the improved secondary. I know we haven't really broken down the secondary as well. I think they're going to be a lot better than last year, and that can also help the pass rush too if you get a couple extra seconds compared to last year. They kind of have to complement each other well. If you can get a decent edge rush, the corners have less work to do, but if the corners can provide an extra second or two, it gives you just that extra couple steps to get to the quarterback, which I know last year we had a lot of close calls. I know we didn't put a ton of sacks on the board, but there was a lot of plays where a couple steps, one little bit better of an angle, you probably would have had a sack or at least hands on the quarterback and roughing him up and could have caused some errant throw. We'll see. We'll see. But I think for the defensive line group as a whole, edges and interior, I like a lot of the pieces. I can see the upside. Please, for the love of God, stay healthy, like Zack said. And hopefully we can just, best couple of guys will get the starts and hopefully continue to be effective throughout the year. Anything you guys wanted to add before we call it? We went a little bit longer for our standards of short episodes, but this is a bigger group than what we've had. No? All right. Well, we're good. All right. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks for that. Of course, any questions, comments, concerns, hit us up on socials, follow on YouTube in the comments, everything. All the Spotify episodes and Apple Podcast episodes are up and running too. So let us know how those are going. And we will be in touch potentially earlier next week than normal. Depends how everything can go with the interview we kind of have in the works. Like I said, follow along on socials for that because I think you guys are really going to like it. I was kind of impressed we were able to pull this one off myself. Still not done yet. We're hoping everything will be recorded and completed soon. But if we can get this rolling, it'll be a good one for you guys, and I'm excited. That's it for now. We appreciate everybody. Have a safe weekend. Have a great weekend. And as always, go green.
Go white.